In many pieces of fiction, there is always a strange notion among certain individuals that an unlikable character is a bad character by default. This is usually an issue when it comes to discussion, since an individual's notion of a character can boil down to, I hate this character because of what they do in the story or their personality, rather than what they represent within the context of said story. It's okay to have opinions, it's great even, but often, the fact of a hatred of a character just because they have traits which appear annoying or unlikable overshadow their prominence and role within a story. Unlikable does not mean that a character is bad or poorly written within the context of a story. Nina is one such example in Berserk, but that video is for another time. Today's video is a defense on Sonia. Although not as bad as for the hatred of Nina, Sonia is probably one of the top candidates for the most hated character in Berserk, in the context of the audience finding her annoying and unlikable. It is important to know that this is different from the hatred that one may find towards something like Griffith. Griffith never displayed traits which are inherently unlikable, such as being annoying, so therefore the monstrous act of the eclipse is what cements that hatred for Griffith, rather than the personality of the character itself. Sonia is a different story in the majority of cases. Her personality inherently makes her unlikable to many, and creates a narrative that she is a bad character by default. Griffith never did anything to annoy the reader, but to shock them about the evil deed he performed. So although they hate Griffith, it's a different kind of feeling than being annoyed by a character. Sonia's personality serves an important role within the story, and there are story beats which explain why she acts the way she does. Again, it's okay to dislike this character, but I think it's important to demonstrate the difference between a poorly written character and one you may just not like. Sonia is first introduced when she, among others, are captured by the Kushan. She exclaims that she can hear the Hawk of Light is coming, and that's what the wind whispers. This establishes early on her medium abilities, which allows her to read minds and project thoughts onto others. Basically, telepathy, if you will. This is expanded upon later with Sonia's relationship with Shirke, but it's important to examine the seeds which were sown early on here. Sonia inherently has an ability that is different from the rest, and therefore felt outcasted. Having a sense of a Hawk of Light approaching just reinforces the point of how important that Griffith is going to be to Sonia. Remember, to the rest of the world, Griffith is their saviour, and we for the moment, as readers, must disassociate our feelings of Griffith from the eclipse, and put it in the context of those who do not know that horrendous act, including Sonia herself. Sonia, who feels separated from the rest, for the first time, has met her saviour, Griffith, someone with unmatched charisma, who she feels like she can relate to in some way, and this will be touched upon later. Even experiencing the war demons, Sonia herself reflects that the scene, which should only be gruesome, was beautiful, like a painting. Later, when Sonia meets Mule and takes him to see Griffith, when they encounter the war demons in the cave, it's easy to understand why one would dislike Sonia. She is oddly calm and at ease, creepily so, even casually saying, earlier they were eating Kushan prisoners. But think of this in the perspective of Sonia herself. For the first time, she is in the world which is like her own, granted that demons aren't at all similar to that of being a medium. But she has found those who are different to her, and in a way, she has found a place more so where she belongs compared to her old life. Not to mention the fact that she has been overtaken with Griffith's charisma. Griffith is her saviour, and therefore, the war demons are just an extension to his army. The infatuation has gone to the point where Sonia wouldn't need to rationalise this. Griffith is perfect, and therefore anything he does is within reason at this current point in time. One may not like the character, but her actions make sense within the context of the story. And look at the acts that Griffith performs. Seeing a heavenly figure be one with spirits and sending them to the afterlife. We, as the reader, know Griffith's true intentions, but within the context of Sonia, It is a magical and beautiful act. Sonia even exclaims that her power gets stronger when Griffith is around. When she is with him, the power, which is an inherent part of her, grows, and this reinforces the point why she is so infatuated with Griffith. The power, which has always been a natural extension of herself, feels at ease and almost normal when she is with Griffith. Skipping ahead to Veritanis, the conversation with Shirake with the duck story. Sonia explains to Shirake that it is hard being different to others, relating to the fact that Shirake is a witch. In her story, Sonia explains that she is a kite, and that the young kite was convinced she was just an odd duck because she did not know how to fly. Sonia, from the beginning, has always felt different from others and alone. She tried to convince herself that she was like everyone else, but deep down, she knew she was not. Griffith, who is the White Hawk in the story, is explained as her saviour. The most important piece of dialogue here is Sonia explaining that hawks and kites are something like kinsfolk, and for the first time, the kite met one of her own and realised she could fly. Sonia met someone for the first time who she felt like was like her. She's not comparing herself on the same level with Griffith, but realised she has met one of her own and can exist on the same plane with another for the first time. The infatuation with Griffith is a strong characteristic of Sonia's personality, but this piece of dialogue shows that it goes deeper than that, like she has found one of her family for the first time. Sonia even says that the young kite was special, and only she could fly in the same sky and wind as the hawk, and not even the wild dragons nor frail ducks could do that, relating to the apostles and the humans. Sonia feels like that she is something to Griffith that no one else is, and although a reader may not like to have to like her nor her actions, it must be understood within the context of the story. Sonia feels like her abilities work hand in hand with Griffith, and she is a unique asset which no one else could perform. Her purpose is to be with Griffith because they exist within the same sky. No longer does she have to be alone and afraid. Sonia further explains how the young kite wasn't amused that Charlotte was the one to be with Griffith, as only the kite could fly and fill the same sky as the hawk. Sonia feels like she's the only one who can bond with Griffith, and she doesn't want that feeling to be taken away, as she has found someone else for the first time on the same field as her. Sonia ends the story with describing Shirake as an owl, and that although the owl was surrounded by so many seagulls, she looked lonely for some reason, and that they were kind of alike, and maybe they could be friends. This is a fantastic analogy, which really drives home the similarities of Sonia and Shirake, and why it is important to understand Sonia's intentions here. Although Shirake was surrounded by seagulls, she still felt alone, much like Sonia did, until she met Griffith. This is how Sonia felt before she met Griffith. A kite among ducks, she felt alone and afraid, because no one understood or wanted to understand her. When she met Griffith, she met one of her own for the first time, and she doesn't want that feeling to go away. One might hate the character, but this scene really cements her intentions in the story, and makes her far from a bad character. Sonia even warns Shirake of the ensuing chaos about to happen, showing that she doesn't want her new friend to get hurt. When Charlotte is trying to get a moment with Griffith, and Sonia interferes out of jealousy, Mule gets angry and tells Sonia to have some more consideration, saying that Charlotte must have been tormented by loneliness and anxiety for years, and now she finally gets to be reunited with her lover. We can see this affects Sonia later with her talk with Irvine. She says she could see things other people couldn't, and hear voices they couldn't, and that her world was different from theirs, saying out loud that she wasn't the only one who was lonely and anxious, referring to Charlotte. This prevents some sympathy towards Sonia. She was always inherently different from others, and therefore felt alone because her whole world was different from others as a kite. Griffith is important to her for two key reasons. The first being her powers as a medium sensed his presence before he arrived, which reinforces the point of him being her saviour. The second being that she finally has someone who lives in the same world that she does. She no longer has to feel alone because she's found Griffith, who is the only person in the world at this current point whom she feels understands her completely, as she feels they exist in the same sky. Again, we as a reader know Griffith is a monster, and we know Sonia is being irrational for thinking such things, but that isn't the point. In the context of the story, Sonia feels like she's finally found someone who has a similar connection to the world as her, and although we may not agree with it, as readers, we understand it. When Ganishka is in his Shiva form, and the war demon's true nature as apostles is revealed to the Neo Band of a Hawk, the human soldiers at first are taken aback, wondering what the hell Griffith is and if he's a demon himself. Sonia is enraged by this, and exclaims that it doesn't matter if they're demons. They're the ones who are shedding blood, and all that matters is that they all fight beside Griffith as they are the Band of the Hawk. Her words eventually reach the Neo Band of the Hawk, and the human soldiers want to fight alongside Griffith again. Understandably, as a reader, it is hard not to dislike or even outright hate Sonia in this moment. After all, her saying that demons shouldn't matter, them being demons should not matter, when we know they literally have a power of evil from the vortex of souls within them, and that they are inherently wicked by nature, and we have seen that many times before. However, we need to think about this in the context of a story, and how Sonia feels within this moment. As Sonia has always felt alone and scared, she sees no difference between humans and demons because she has never fit in regardless. As someone who is human, she never fit in with the ducks and felt herself as a kite, and for people to question Griffith's status on whether he's a demon enrages her because she sees Griffith as something higher. She distinctly separates the human and demons from Griffith, and she feels like she is on the same page as him and can fly on the same wind. Her infatuation has gotten to a point where she sees no difference between the humans and demons, and only that serving Griffith is of the utmost importance. Again, it must be reinforced, you don't have to like Sonia nor her actions, but understand why she acts the way she does within this story. The point of this video was not to convince people who dislike Sonia or maybe outright hate her to change their views on the character, but to understand what she represents in the context of the story. I do not think it's fair calling her a bad character based on the notions of what we know as readers of Griffith's past and just the idea that an annoying character equals a bad or poorly written character. Sonia works within the context of the story because of the background we have behind her and why she behaves the way she does. I hope I've convinced at least some of you to not change their views on Sonia, but just to think about why she does work within her role in the story, and that she is not a bad character. Thanks for watching.